This video is for 3.2 perfect cubes, cube roots, and x to the third power equals p. So let's talk about what a perfect cube is. A perfect cube is any number that is multiplied by itself 3 times. So 2 cubed is written 2 to the power of 3, and it's 2 times 2 times 2, which equals 8. 3 cubed is going to be 3 times 3 times 3, and it's going to equal 27. 4 cubed is going to equal 4 times 4 times 4, which equals 64. Okay, so let's talk about, we talked about yesterday that the perfect square, if we threw in a negative sign, then it would go ahead and still come out to be the same. So let's look at negative 2 cubed. We're going to do negative 2 times negative 2, and that is going to equal, this, remember, equals a positive 4. And then times a negative 2 is going to equal a negative 8. A 3 cubed, these two, their negatives are going to cancel and they're going to become positive. Positive times a negative equals a negative. So you can tell that any negative number cubed is going to come out negative. So we will only have one answer on each one of these. Okay, so let's look at what a cube root is. Same type of thing as a square root. It is the number that when it is being used as a factor 3 times goes back to our original number. So 27 to the cube root means, or 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 is going to equal 27. So here you're noticing what the cube root is going to look like. It's going to look just like a square root, but right out in front there's going to be a little 3. So negative 27 to the cube root is going to be negative 3, because negative 3 times negative 3 is going to equal, or times negative 3 is going to equal a negative 27. So you notice here, if we have a negative 27, then our answer is going to be negative as well. If here it's positive, so here it's going to be positive. So the relationship between cubes and cube roots are going to be just like squares and square roots. So 3 cubed is going to be 27. The cube root of 27 is 3. So we know those are going to be exactly the same. And then when we solve equations with them, we're going to do the same thing that we did before. So we're going to write out our expression, and then we're going to take the cube root of both sides. So x to the third, when we make that a cube root of x to the third, we're just going to have x, and then we have 125 to the cube root is going to be 5. So different calculators are going to do this differently. Sometimes you're going to put in the 3 and then the square root sign, and then you're going to put in the number to find your cube root. Other times they're going to ask you to put it in differently. So you're just going to have to figure out your calculator. But what this means is x times x times x is going to equal 8, and we want to know what that is. And 2 times 2 is 4 times another 2 does in fact equal 8. So when we have x to the third power equals 8 and we cube root it, then we have x equals 2. So here I'm going to cube root this one as well and this one. And here we're going to get a 3, and we know from this that it has to be negative, because the negative number, negative 3 times negative 3 is going to be a positive 9, times another negative 3 is going to be a negative 27. So here we have x cubed equals 64. I'm going to cube root both sides. So I'm going to have x equals 4, and it can only be a positive 4. And this one, I have x cubed equals negative 125. I'm going to cube root both sides, and I'm going to have x equals 5. And that has to be a negative because my 125 is also negative. Okay, try this one on your own. See if you get any of these answers. You should know right away if it's going to be positive or negative. Here, we're going to land with D, because -4 times -4 is going to be a positive 16, times another -4 is going to be negative 64. That's how we check it. Okay, this example is going to be the same as when we would square root something yesterday. So here I'm going to take it and I'm going to cube root it because it's to the third power. I'm going to cube root the top and I'm going to cube root the bottom. So 8 cube rooted is 2. And 343 cube rooted is going to be 7, because 7 times 7 is 49. 49 times 7 is going to be 343. So W is going to equal 2/7. Now remember, that means that W cubed is going to be 2/7 times 2/7 times 2/7. 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. 7 times 7 is 49, times 7 is 343. That's how we check it. Okay, so y to the third equals 1 over 1,000. The 1 is often confusing to kids because it seems so small. Oh, sorry. It seems so small. So with that, then kids are confused by it. But we're just going to cube root it. The cool thing about 1 is 1 times any number is 1. So it can be the square root of 1, it can be the cube root of 1, it could be the fourth root of 1, it doesn't matter. So the cube root of 1 is just 1. And then the cube root of 1,000 is going to be 10. So if I say 1/10 times 1/10 times 1/10, I'm going to do 1 times 1 times 1, and that's 1. 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 10 is 1,000. And then we know that y does in fact equal 1/10. So here we have an aquarium in the shape of a cube, and it has a volume of 1,256 cubic inches. And we want to know the exact length of one side of the aquarium. First, let's talk about volume. When we talk about volume, we have length times width times height. As we're looking at this, this is a cube. A cube is like a square. So the side lengths are all going to be the same on it, no matter where it's at. So length and width and height are all the same side length, and that is going to equal our volume. So our volume equals the side length cubed. Knowing that volume equals side length cubed, we're going to take this 1,256 and we're going to plug it in for volume, and we're going to say that equals side length cubed. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cube root both sides. So I have S that is left over here. And on this side, when I cube root it, I'm going to get 10.7893814. But as we're looking at it, it says if your answer is not in a perfect cube, approximate your answer to the nearest tenth of an inch. So the tenth is right here, and the 8 is going to tell it to go up or to stay the same. And we know 5 or above, give it a shove, 4 below, leave it alone. So that makes this 10.8, and our units are in inches. So 10.8 inches on each side. So this one is 10.8, this is 10.8, and this one is 10.8. Okay, so this one says a mailing carton in the shape of a cube has a volume of 684 cubic inches. Once again, we're in a cube, so we know that volume equals the side length cubed. We want to know the length of one side of the carton to the nearest tenth of an inch. So here we're going to have 684 equals side length cubed. I'm going to cube root both sides. And when I do that, I'm going to get 78.46018098. That got a little messy. So here it tells us to the nearest tenth of an inch. So this is my nearest tenth. The 6 says give it a shove. So I'm going to have 78.5 inches for this particular mailing carton. Okay, I hope this made sense. Be sure to see me with any questions that you have. Thank you.